My sister excluded my son from her wedding after he spent 8 months creating her dream dress. She still expected to wear it. She never saw our ultimatum coming. I'm Brenda, 42, and I've been raising my son David alone since my husband died in a car accident when David was 9. What I never expected was having to shield my 17-year-old from the very family that should have embraced his incredible talent. "Mom, I need to show you something," David said last Wednesday, his voice carrying that hollow tone that always made my heart sink. I found him in his bedroom, his creative sanctuary where magic happened daily. Fashion sketches covered every wall, fabric samples hung like colorful flags, and his grandmother's vintage Singer sewing machine sat proudly in the corner. This room had been his refuge since he was 13, when grief over losing his father pushed him toward creating beauty with his hands. That old machine became his therapist, his teacher, his best friend. "What's wrong, sweetheart?" He held up his iPhone, barely meeting my eyes. Something inside him had shut down completely. "I never got an invitation to Aunt Rachel's wedding. Mom, I'm devastated. I made her entire dress, and she doesn't even want me there." My stomach dropped. For years ago, when David first discovered that dusty sewing machine in our attic, I never imagined it would become his lifeline. He'd been struggling with his father's death, always withdrawn and quiet. But that machine gave him purpose, gave him hope. "Mom, can you teach me how this works?" he'd ask then, running his small fingers over the metal frame with wonder. By 14, David was designing his own patterns. By 16, he was taking paid commissions from neighbors across Denver. Now, at 17, his work was so stunning that my sister Rachel had practically begged him to create her wedding dress when she got engaged 10 months ago. 9 months earlier, Rachel had practically floated into our kitchen in Highlands Ranch, her engagement ring catching the Colorado sunshine streaming through our windows. "David, honey, I have the most incredible request," she chirped, settling into the chair across from him. "You know how absolutely gifted you are with design and sewing. Would you consider making my wedding dress?" David looked up from his calculus homework, eyes wide with surprise. "You really want me to make your wedding dress?" "Of course I do. Think about how meaningful that would be, wearing something created by my incredibly talented nephew. It would mean everything to me. And naturally, you'll have the best seat in the house. Front row, right next to Grandma Dorothy." I watched my son's face transform, that shy smile spreading across his features like sunrise. "If you really trust me with something that important." "I absolutely do. This is going to be perfect, David. Just perfect." But now, staring at his crushed expression, I realized how wrong we'd both been. "I'll cover all the materials," I offered immediately, seeing the excitement dancing in my son's eyes. "Consider it my contribution to your big day, Rachel." Rachel hugged us both, tears of what I thought was gratitude shimmering in her eyes. "You two are the best family anyone could ask for." What followed were months of David pouring his heart and soul into that dress. 57 different sketches covered our dining room table. Countless fabric samples from Denver's finest shops spread across every surface. Late nights when I'd find him hunched over his machine at 2 a.m., determined to perfect every single detail. David treated this project like his masterpiece. He researched historical techniques, watched YouTube tutorials from fashion designers in Paris, and even drove to the Denver Art Museum to study vintage gowns for inspiration. But Rachel's feedback grew increasingly harsh and demanding. "These sleeves look ridiculous. Can you make them more fitted? I hate this neckline. It makes me look heavy. Why does this lace look so cheap? Can't you use something more expensive? This skirt is way too puffy." I said elegant, not some Disney princess nightmare. Each criticism felt like a dagger to David's confidence, but he persevered. He'd come to me after long days at Cherry Creek High School, exhausted and frustrated. "She changes her mind constantly, Mom. I've completely redone the bodice 6 times. Wedding planning is stressful, honey. She's probably just nervous about the big day. But she's being cruel about it. Yesterday she said my work looked amateur and homemade. I should have stepped in then. I should have protected my son from Rachel's thoughtless, cutting words. Instead, I encouraged David to push through, believing family loyalty meant something to my sister. Maybe she's just perfectionist, I'd say, making excuses for behavior I knew was wrong. The dress consumed David's entire junior year. While his classmates were going to football games and school dances, he spent weekends at fabric stores in downtown Denver, searching for the perfect materials. He used his part-time job money from Target to buy specialty threads and delicate beading. His dedication was extraordinary. He hand-sewed over 200 tiny pearls onto the bodice. The lace sleeves were intricate as spiderwebs, each stitch perfectly placed. The train flowed like liquid silk, and every detail spoke of love, patience, and incredible skill. The final fitting was 3 weeks ago. When Rachel slipped into David's masterpiece, our mother actually gasped. "Oh my goodness," Mom whispered, her hand over her heart. "David, this is museum-quality work, sweetheart. It's absolutely breathtaking." The dress truly was stunning. It looked like something from a high-end bridal boutique in Manhattan, not something created by a teenager in suburban Colorado. Even Rachel seemed genuinely moved for once. "It's beautiful, David. Really, really beautiful." For a moment, I thought we'd finally reached understanding. I thought she finally appreciated the incredible gift my son had given her. I was so wrong. How could she not want me at her wedding, Mom? David's voice was soft and completely broken, jolting me back to the present moment like ice water to the face. "There has to be some mistake, honey," I said, grabbing my phone and texting Rachel immediately. "Hey Rachel, David says he didn't receive a wedding invitation. Did it get lost in the mail?" Her response came back within minutes, and it made my blood boil. "Oh right. We decided on adults only. No kids allowed. He'll understand, he's mature for his age." "Adults only? Rachel, he's 17 and he made your dress. No exceptions, Brenda. The venue has strict policies. He'll understand." "Understand what?" I called her immediately, my voice shaking with rage the second she answered. "Brenda, please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be." "Difficult?" "David spent 8 months of his life on your dress. 8 months of staying up until midnight every night, pricking his fingers until they bled, redoing everything because you kept changing your mind like a spoiled child. I appreciate what he did, but this is my wedding day. I want it to be sophisticated and elegant. You know how teenagers can be at formal events. How teenagers can be. This teenager created a work of art for you. He sacrificed his entire junior year social life for your dress. Look, I'll make it up to him somehow. Maybe we can grab lunch after the honeymoon or something." "Lunch? You seriously think lunch makes up for breaking the one promise that kept him motivated through months of your constant criticism and demands? Some promises just don't work out, big sister. Not my fault if you can't handle reality. I've got a million things to do before Saturday. Talk later." She said it all in that fake sweet tone that made everything sting worse, then hung up like our conversation meant absolutely nothing. That night, I walked into the kitchen to find David carefully folding the wedding dress into tissue paper. His hands moved with surgical precision, like each crease carried enormous weight. "What are you doing, baby?" He didn't look up from his careful work. "Packing it up. Figured I'd send it to Aunt Rachel anyway, like she wanted originally." "David, look at me." He turned, and I saw that same lost little boy who'd asked me why Daddy couldn't come to his school science fair. His eyes carried identical bewildered hurt, the same confusion at being forgotten by someone who should have loved him unconditionally. "Sweetie, she doesn't deserve to wear your incredible work." "Mom, it's fine. I guess I was stupid to think she actually wanted me there." "You weren't stupid. You were trusting family. There's a difference." That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. I pulled out my phone and started typing a message to Rachel. I read it 3 times, took a deep breath, and hit send. "Rachel, since David won't be at your wedding, you won't be wearing his dress either." My phone rang within 30 seconds. "Brenda, have you completely lost your mind?" "I'm thinking clearly for the first time in months, Rachel. My wedding is in 4 days. What am I supposed to wear?" "That's your problem. You should have thought about that before you decided my son wasn't worth a seat at your wedding. It was a gift. You can't take back a gift." "A gift?" "Real gifts are given with love between people who respect each other. You've shown David nothing but disrespect and cruelty for months. This is absolutely insane. He's just a teenager. He's your nephew who literally bled for your dress. Did you even notice the tiny red stains on the inner seam during your final fitting? That's David's blood from where he pricked his fingers working late into the night. For you. Complete silence. Not the kind that means she's listening, but the kind that proves she had nothing decent left to say. Rachel, are you still there? How much do you want for it? We're selling it to someone who'll actually appreciate David's incredible talent. Selling? Brenda, you cannot sell my wedding dress. It's not your wedding dress anymore, unless you're ready to pay $850 for it. That's what custom wedding dresses cost in Denver. $850. For something made by a kid. Made by an incredibly talented young man who trusted you with his heart. Someone else will pay for it gladly. I hung up and immediately listed the dress on Facebook Marketplace. David watched me type the description: stunning custom wedding dress, size 8, handcrafted by gifted young designer. Museum quality craftsmanship. $850 firm. Mom, what if she apologizes? Then she can call back and make this right. A real apology. To you. Not to me. Within 2 hours, we had 18 inquiries. By evening, a bride named Sarah drove over from Boulder to see the gown. This is absolutely extraordinary, she exclaimed, examining David's intricate beadwork with genuine awe. You created this yourself? David nodded shyly, his cheeks flushing with pride. I've never seen craftsmanship this detailed. It's absolutely breathtaking. I'm getting married next weekend and my original dress was damaged in shipping. This is like a miracle. She didn't hesitate with payment. This dress is going to make my dreams come true. As Sarah carefully loaded the dress into her Subaru, David stood beside me on our front porch. She really loved it, didn't she, Mom? She saw it for exactly what it is, a masterpiece. Rachel called the next morning, panic evident in her voice. Brenda, I've been thinking all night. Maybe I overreacted yesterday. I can make room for David at the wedding, okay? I need that dress back. Please. Too late, Rachel. What do you mean too late? The dress is gone. Sold to a bride who cried actual tears when she saw David's work. Gone? You actually sold it. To someone who told David he was incredibly talented and gifted. Someone who made him feel valued for the first time in months. But it was mine. I commissioned it. It's gone, Rachel. Just like your relationship with David, unless you seriously change your attitude. The scream that followed was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. On Saturday, the day of Rachel's wedding, David and I were making chocolate chip pancakes at IHOP in Littleton. We decided to treat ourselves to a special breakfast, just the two of us. You know what, Mom? I think Aunt Rachel actually did me a huge favor. I raised an eyebrow, curious about his perspective. If she'd kept her promise and let me attend, I might never have learned that my work has real value. That I don't have to accept being treated badly just because someone's family. A few days later, David's phone buzzed with a notification that made both of us smile. Mom, look at this. Sarah had sent photos from her wedding. She looked absolutely radiant in David's dress, glowing beside her new husband outside the Denver Botanic Gardens. Her message made my heart swell with pride. David, thank you for creating the most beautiful dress I've ever seen. You have an incredible gift that deserves recognition. I've already recommended you to 4 of my friends. Never let anyone make you doubt your amazing talent. She wants to hire me for her sister's wedding next spring, David said, grinning widely. That's wonderful, honey. You deserve all the recognition in the world. And Mom? I'm actually grateful this happened. Why's that? Because now I know that my work matters, my feelings matter, and my mom will always fight for me when others try to tear me down. Last night, David surprised me with dinner at Olive Garden, his treat using his first professional commission payment from Sarah's referral. What's all this celebration for? I asked as he pulled out my chair. For showing me what real love looks like, Mom. For teaching me that I'm worth fighting for, always. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to let someone treat your child as disposable. The fallout from Rachel's wedding was swift and dramatic. By Sunday afternoon, my phone was exploding with messages from our extended family. Mom called first, her voice tight with disapproval. Brenda, what you did was absolutely unacceptable. Rachel's wedding was ruined because she had to wear a backup dress from David's bridal. The whole family is talking about it. Good, I replied calmly. Maybe they should talk about how she treated David first. She's your sister. Family comes first. David is my family. He's my son, and he deserved better than being treated like garbage for 8 months. Next came Aunt Linda, Rachel's future mother-in-law. Brenda, I've never seen anything so petty in my life. You embarrassed that poor girl on her wedding day over a teenage tantrum. Teenage tantrum? David spent his junior year creating a masterpiece for someone who excluded him out of pure selfishness. He's just a kid. He'll get over it. He's a talented young man who deserved respect. Something your family clearly doesn't understand. But the most surprising call came from my cousin Jessica, who'd been at the wedding. Brenda, I have to tell you what really happened at the reception, she whispered, clearly hiding from other family members. I'm listening. Rachel spent the entire night complaining about having to wear a cheap backup dress and how you'd ruined her perfect day. But here's the thing, several guests kept asking about David's dress because they'd seen photos on social media. When they found out the story, most people were on David's side. Really? Grandma Dorothy was furious with Rachel. She told everyone within earshot that Rachel got exactly what she deserved for treating family so poorly. Even some of Rachel's college friends were saying she was wrong to exclude David after he made her dress. What did Rachel say to that? She had a complete meltdown. Started crying and yelling that everyone was ganging up on her. It was honestly embarrassing to watch. Jessica paused, then continued, Brenda, you did the right thing. David's dress was absolutely stunning. I saw the photos Sarah posted. Rachel's backup dress looked like a cheap Halloween costume in comparison. Thank you for telling me that, Jess. Also, I gave Sarah's information to my coworker whose daughter is getting married next year. David's about to get another commission. After hanging up, I found David in his room, sketching new dress designs. How are you feeling about everything, sweetie? He looked up, his eyes bright and clear. Honestly? I feel free. Like I don't have to prove myself to people who don't value me anymore. You never had to prove yourself to anyone, David. You're perfect exactly as you are. I know that now. And I have you to thank for showing me. 3 months later, David's small business was thriving. Word had spread through Denver's wedding community about the incredibly talented teenage designer who'd been wronged by his own family. Brides were specifically seeking him out, drawn by both his skill and his story. Mom, you won't believe this, David said, bursting through our front door after school on a Tuesday afternoon. What happened? Colorado Bridal Magazine wants to feature me in their spring issue. They're calling it Rising Stars, Young Designers to Watch. My heart swelled with pride. David, that's incredible. The photographer is coming next week to shoot some of my designs. And get this, they want to interview me about overcoming family challenges to pursue your passion. Are you comfortable talking about what happened with Rachel? Yeah, I think so. If my story can help other young people stand up for themselves, then something good came from all that pain. That evening, David presented me with a beautiful cashmere scarf he designed and sewn himself, soft lavender with delicate silver threading. What's this for? For being the kind of mother who fights for her son. For showing me that I deserve respect, even from family members. You never have to thank me for that, sweetheart. I know. But I want to. Because of you, I learned that blood doesn't automatically earn respect, behavior does. The magazine feature came out in April, and the response was overwhelming. David received dozens of wedding commission requests, including one from a bride in Aspen who'd heard his story and wanted to fly him up for consultations. As for Rachel, she reached out exactly once, a brief text message 3 weeks after her wedding. I hope you're happy. You ruined my special day over a stupid dress. I showed David the message, and he just shrugged. She still doesn't get it. She thinks this was about a dress. What was it really about? Respect. Love. Family loyalty. Things that apparently don't matter to her. Are you sad about losing that relationship? I'm sad about who I thought she was. But I'm not sad about standing up for myself. Now, 6 months later, David has a waiting list of clients and a college scholarship offer from the Fashion Institute of Technology in New York. He's learned that his talent has value, that his feelings matter, and that sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is refuse to let others diminish their child. Rachel got her wedding day, but David got something far more valuable: self-worth, respect, and the knowledge that he'll never have to accept being treated as disposable again. Sometimes the best lessons come from the hardest moments. And sometimes, standing up for what's right means walking away from what's familiar. That's a lesson worth learning at 17.
What would you do in this situation? Let us know in the comments. If this story had you on the edge of your seat, smash that like button and subscribe for more jaw-dropping family drama, shocking betrayals, and the revenge stories you won't believe.